Hello everyone, Emil here. The day after my birthday. Yes, on the 4th of June I completed another lab on this giant floating space rock around a huge burning rock. Okay, enough of that. Welcome to episode 70 of DoubleDM. We have Homie and the Dude with us today to talk about creating unique and exciting content. We talk about finding your niche, creating content, the TTRPG community, working together, and a whole lot of interesting advice and insight for content creators new and old. You seriously don't want to miss what Tom and Bodhi have to say about literally everything in the process. Starting with ideas, creating these ideas, releasing these ideas, marketing them, connecting them, and everything else. I mean, these guys are literally heavyweight champions in quality content creation. You will notice, however, this episode doesn't have a recap. That is because, well, first, Niels was on vacation. Second, I moved places the day after this episode was recorded. Third, this episode was with 4 people and therefore went a little over time already, but it's definitely good. Trust me. We don't know if there will be an episode 71 next week, so please bear with us if that is the case. It will hopefully only be a week before we can get back to usual creations. But okay, now please enjoy this episode 70 of DoubleDM, how to create unique content.
And with that, welcome back to the episode. We have our guests now with us, Tom and Bodhi from Homie and the Dude. So please introduce yourselves and your project.
What's up, everybody?
What's poppin'?
What's poppin'? I'm Bodhi. I'm the son half of the father-son team, Homie and the Dude.
I'm Tom. I am the father half of Homie and the Dude. Not sure whether we want to reveal whether I'm Homie or the Dude, but probably not.
No.
Keep people guessing.
Keep you guessing. Projects, what we do. We're a father and son team that have been doing this for almost 2 years now. We originally came up with the concept of Homie and the Dude during the first pandemic lockdown here in the UK. And we decided, our relationship needed a bit of rekindling and wanted to get closer as both friends and father and son. And so we dove into making content creation together. And, it started with just a podcast. And since then has evolved into, going out and interviewing MMA fighters after they win fights. It's evolved into, doing a TTRPG Actual Play. It's evolved into many different things over the time that we've done it. And we have some super exciting stuff coming up as well that we've started, dice making, and we're pushing forward with a couple of Kickstarter ideas that we're currently in the backworks, that we have a few things that we're hopefully going to be releasing in the latter half of this year, basically. But yeah, that's kind of who we are and what we do at the moment. But yeah, we're just honestly here to have a bit of fun, join the community, hopefully contribute a little bit to this amazing space that we're all in, and just honored to share it with you guys, to be honest with you, because I've been fans of your guys' show ever since we entered the community. I said to Tom, the moment we joined TTRPG, I was like, oh my god, we need to at some point talk to DoubleDM, because their videos are helping me learn so much about being a dungeon master. And I had only just stepped into the role when we did, so I was just exhilarated to get a chance to talk to Emil when we did, and to converse with you guys over Twitter and whatnot. It's truly been a pleasure to, share the space with you both, and super glad to be here today.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is our original idea, there's just no way we could have gotten to where we are right now 2 years ago and just been like, okay, that's the place we're going to head to. It's been a completely organic path that has had some, signals, green light, red light, yellow light signals to go forward with certain things, to kill certain things, to continue to explore certain things. And that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are. It has not been, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but there hasn't been a lot of strategy behind it. It's just been just kind of stumbling through and just kind of listening to what we're passionate about.
Just two blind guys fumbling around in the dark for a light switch is what it feels like. It's not been great, but yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I mean, yeah, the other side to it is we truly love that we have eliminated some things that we actually liked, but have narrowed down to the things that we love, and we keep doing that. And so where we'll be in a year, who knows? but what we do know is we're trying to stay true to what we're passionate with.
I relate to that so much, right? Niels and I talked in the beginning of DoubleDM about creating streams, about creating supplements or whatever. And now we're said, okay, no, podcasts work perfectly fine for us. Let's do an actual play podcast, not a stream, not release any setting books just yet. Maybe in the future, maybe not. We're figuring it out as we go. But I relate to that so much, right? Just figuring out where you're going, right as you're going. It's everyone starts at this point, probably. We're all at the beginning of great journeys in content creation. So you guys have a very interesting mix of content.
It's a nice way of putting it, Emil.
It's a really interesting mix, in my opinion. MMA and D&D, or even TTRPG in general.
Yeah.
That's something you don't see every day, but it seems to be working great for you guys. I have to say that. So how has that felt, mixing these two worlds to combine your own brand, project, creations, whatever you want to call it?
Abrasive. No, it's honestly, first of all, I just want to say shout out to the Titan Call arc, isn't it? Is that your guys' actual play that you guys are coming with? Did I get that right? Titan Call arc? Hyped for that. To answer your question, it's been a hard one because they are such different realms of existence. You know, with MMA, it's a violent blood sport that is, you know, not something that they want their kids watching and not something that, you know, they're checking out themselves and stuff like that. And then with TTRPG, you know, I'm sure you guys will have noticed when you get into space, it's very soft. Everyone's very supportive. Everyone's very loving and caring. And both the audiences and the communities are vastly different. The MMA community is so like harsh and like just rude and just not a super nice space to be in, where the TTRPG space is just lovely. It's so warm and just nice. And so combining the two was something that, I mean, Tom and I have been watching mixed martial arts since I was maybe 10 years old. And I used to compete in a lot of martial arts when I was a kid as well. And Tom has done martial arts. And so it's been a big part of like our lives since like I was 5 years old, basically. And, you know, I've been watching Kung Fu movies. Like when we lived in Spain and we didn't have a TV and stuff, we'd go get, you know, like bootleg versions of like Ong Bak and, you know, like Kung Fu Hustle and like, you know, all these Kung Fu movies and, you know, old Jackie Chan's. It's stuff that we've been, you know, watching for a very long time. So MMA felt very natural to us. We kind of, when we decided to do our live stream, which we do during UFC events, where we basically provide no bullshit commentary for people because the UFC commentators are just fucking shit. And we basically give you guys some good commentary with the knowledge that we've accrued over, you know, nearly 15 years of watching the sport and learning stuff and participating in a lot of the martial arts that are done in mixed martial arts. So it felt really easy because we stay up late and watch those events anyway. So we were like, what harm is it to flick on a camera, strap some mics on and just continue talking the same shit we do when we're just sat watching it ourselves and have people, you know, come along for the journey. And then I think
talk shit with us.
Yeah, talk shit with us, share opinions, all that kind of stuff. And I think then with TTRPGs, it was actually a combination of both of us. I saw like a bit of D&D stuff, and then Tom kind of went and did a bit of his own research and found Acquisitions Incorporated and saw some of their live shows that they were doing at PAX and stuff. And you like messaged me almost instantly and were like, you've got to see this. This is like crazy. These guys are in full cosplay. They're fucking hilarious. You know, they're a bunch of old dudes on a fucking stage just having a great time.
Full improv, just like it was brilliant, just brilliant performance.
It just blew us away. And I think I went from watching Node, who are like a subsection of Corridor Digital, doing their D&D stuff, which was a bit more ropey, to them watching Acquisitions, which was just like mind-blowing. And I was just like, holy shit, we need to do that. I was like, even if we don't like record anything or anything, we need to just play and just have a great time. So I got the starter set, as many people do, you know, Lost Mines of Phandelver, and began reading the basic rules that come with it and just kind of dove into that. And we played the first session and I railroaded the fuck out of us. And it was an absolute shit show mess, as many DMs kind of do. But we realized very early on that one thing I was good at and one thing Tom was really good at was Tom's role play is exceptional, possibly some of the best I've ever heard, in my opinion, in the TTRPG community. And both of us, because of our combat background, were able to really make combat interesting, fun, descriptive, graphic, gory, you know, all the kinds of things that we love watching, you know, MMA and all those movies for all these years. We were like, oh wow, like I can describe, you know, an arrow ripping through someone's head and bits of skull like erupting out the back of their head as it hits the back wall. And, you know, like we really found a passion within our combat descriptions and what we were doing with combat. And I think that was the moment we were like, oh shit, we can maybe combine these two worlds and go down that kind of path. I'd say that's pretty much how we got to combine the two. Is there anything I missed, do you think?
No, I think I'm glad you answered that, by the way, and I didn't. My answer would have been a lot less quality. No, I mean, to your point, like when I think of MMA and TTRPG, we are continuing constantly to think about it almost like a Venn diagram. So there's a big circle with MMA, it's a big circle with TTRPG, and the cross section between the two. For us currently, we're trying to decide or understand how big that overlap is, and then trying to figure out how to access that overlap, you know, either through traditional social media means or to invite one audience to the other or the other audience to that, you know, so we're continually trying to figure out, because they're very different, as Bodhi said. So that's a big part of our challenge going forward. And I feel like we're understanding it a little bit more.
That's why we released, you know, our Unarmed Combat Evolved supplements for D&D so that people can, you know, do like some basic stuff. We've released, you know, version 1 and version 2 of that. Currently we're working on a mixed martial arts class for D&D 5e, which we will most likely be releasing as like a small Kickstarter. It's going to have, you know, a bunch of different subclasses and probably I imagine 100 or so different techniques that are kind of like spells that you can do as a mixed martial artist, and you know, all this kind of stuff that we've been really working on behind closed doors at the moment, but that we're really excited about. We feel like, you know, it will bridge that gap, and you know, maybe we can run some streams and bits and bobs, you know, with maybe a group of mixed martial arts class players, you know, and things like that. So I don't know. Yeah, we're getting there though.
Yeah.
Nice. I definitely shortly want to go on your combat points you made, right? Yeah. Because often when you talk to people, right, I often see the take on Twitter, for example, combat can be is the most boring pillar of D&D. And I agree to the extent that it can be the most easiest boring. It's very easy to make combat boring if you not try. But I think when I was on your guys' show, we talked about that a bit, but I also want to just hear from you guys again. How do you make combat so interesting? You guys make it descriptive, but is there anything else to that formula for you as well? What makes combat so interesting?
That's a fucking great question. Do you know, actually, it's one of the things that I have now implemented whenever I play a meal that you talked about on our podcast, which I think was just like absolute dynamite advice, was talking about every turn movement. Because, you know, something that bothers me, and it was bothering me, is, you know, you have like 3 or 4 players clustered around, you know, let's say a dragon, because we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Let's say a big ass fucking dragon, and you have 4 players, you know, flanking this dragon, and they all just kind of stand there like, hit, next turn, hit. And it's like, that's not realistic. You wouldn't be doing that. Things would be moving. People would be turning. And for me, like, even like without, you know, moving out of threatening space and taking an attack of opportunity, you know, just shifting around that threatening space each turn just adds a small amount of dynamicism to what you're doing, and can really, like, instead of like, you know, being like, oh, I step back out and, you know, you get an attack of opportunity, I'm actually just going to move around a square to your right, and now I'm coming at you from the side, you know, that kind of thing. I think really, really evolved my, like, my movement and stuff in combat. But for me, I think thinking about realism is something that I often put in there, because, you know, in D&D, it's so whimsical, and it's fireball exploding, and, you know, and it's, you know, shooting this and that, and it can be a bit whimsical. And so for me, I think grounding some of that in realism and being like, cool, if I swing my maul and like hit in an upward swing, how is that going to affect that creature? Is that going to, you know, do this, that? And especially as a dungeon master, for me, like, you know, we in episode 4 of our actual play, there's a really nice moment where Arnar played by Sam Comerford, role-playing. Amazing cast member, absolutely incredible. Basically smashes his maul down on the hand of a deep gnome who sat at a table. And in my head, I'm like, we could just play the normal boring D&D. Oh, he takes the damage. Okay, cool. But for me, I'm like, that's not how that works. His hand is now just rubble. He's got basically a glove filled with like crushed bones that is limp attached to his arm, basically. And so I'm like, you've completely disabled one of his arms, and it's now just completely fucked up, and it's almost like flat on the table because of what you've done. And that's kind of something that I really do, and I break the D&D rules massively by adding, damage effects. I'll have, if a lightning bolt shoots off and it hits a back wall, bits of rock will erupt from the wall and hit everyone in the room, and things like that. I try and really just, add that extra bit of gusto. But I think also, for you, something Tom is amazing at that I love when Tom does in combat is he is the greatest assist man in all of history. Like, there's never been anyone better that's like, yo, I'm going to set up my shield and like, come, jump off me, like that kind of thing. And I think, teamwork, building like almost, people combining spells is like a common one that people think about. But, adding, combinations of melee of like, cool, I'm going to hit him here and that's going to turn him towards you. Now your turn, you fucking hit him back towards me and we'll just like pass him back and forth, that kind of stuff.
It's like Gimli asking to be put on the shoulders of...
no, it's what he's asking to. Toss me, but don't tell the off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. You're always looking to, give someone else an amazing moment. And I think that has really elevated combat for new players, people that don't know what they're doing and things like that.
I would also just add, I think roleplay can be really important during combat. And I try to roleplay every time it's my turn. So interacting...
A line of dialogue or something.
Definitely a line of dialogue, whether it's to the creature I'm up against or to someone else on the team. And the other thing that's important for me is I'm not always in the mindset where I want to win. I want to just kind of... I want to let my creativity do whatever it does. And sometimes it just does stupid shit, like it just does. And sometimes, I'm not mini-maxing to try to be the biggest, baddest dude in this combat. I just want to kind of, be part of the team. And whatever my character does as part of the team, sometimes it fails miserably. In doing so, it adds a little bit of comedy to that combat, or, it needs some help in that combat. And all these types of things, I think, add some color that completely, lift what is and what can be, and oftentimes it is pretty dry.
Your answer is so much better than mine. That's why this is what I'm talking about. Tom is kick ass at this stuff. Like, again, another favorite moment from episode 4 of our stream is everyone's in combat. Tom's character is at the back. And because he's playing a turtle, he literally just shells up and starts panic whistling and doesn't do anything for the entire combat. He literally just shells up and just starts panic whistling because his character is a bit afraid and a little bit naive and stuff. And this is his first like major combat. So you literally just backed out of combat entirely. And though it didn't like do anything massive to combat, everyone was like, yeah, that checks out. Everyone was like, yeah, that makes total sense. And it added a moment where, one of the characters had to come back and kind of like try and inspire you to get involved and, added a bit of dynamics. So yeah, I fully agree with what you said.
Yeah. We had one that, it was in the Lost Mines of Phandelver. Or no, it was in our homebrew, our first run of our homebrew, and we were down in the caves, and at that time there was giant rats down there. Do you remember?
Yes.
There was a giant rat that one of our fellow PCs was contending
that was
with.
one of my favorites. I completely forgot about that.
And I was playing a dwarf at the time, and I just said, pick me up and swing me like a baseball bat. And that's what he did. And there was a gap so we play up in the sky. So there's a gap in this underground part of the island that, if he did it just right, he would hit one of these giant rats into the gap. And it so happens he rolled perfectly.
He rolled like a 19 or something. It was gorgeous.
It was perfect.
Knocked that rat straight down the crevasse.
I think I took some damage as well.
Yeah, you took a little bit of damage, but it was such a great moment.
Yeah.
So things like that. For sure.
I love that. I really love that answer of including roleplay, team play, dynamics, as I said on your shows. But again, hammering that home, even if it's just one space, even you're not going out of range, just for attack opportunities, just moving that one space. It doesn't matter if you just want to hit. You don't need your movement anywhere this round. Just use it to walk around the creature to enable that realism of walking.
Yeah, and letting your creativity flow to create stupid stuff, but that might work, but might not work, can lead to such great interesting moments, because if it works, it's awesome and just straight out amazing. But if it doesn't work, it's just an amazingly fun experience because everything goes to shit after that.
You're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong at all.
We had one where I don't even remember the reason why, but we were down in a cave again, and my character chose to throw a rock.
Oh, it was because it was dark, and you were playing a wizard in this part, and you used a light spell to turn the rock into a light source, and you tried to huck it down a hallway to give you guys some light.
To give us some light to see where, if any, of the the baddies were, whatever. And so it seemed like a pretty straightforward thing, but I threw the rock and I rolled a crit fail. The action was the rock hit against the cave and then came back and hit me in the head. Next time around, everyone's doing other things. I'm like, I'm going to do it again. And they're like, really? You're going to throw that rock again? And I was like, yep, I'm going to throw it again. Threw it again and threw I think I rolled
another crit. It was another one.
Hit me again. And at some point, to your point, Niels, it was something that we still talk about, because it was so stupid.
And the team were just like, don't pick the rock up again. They're like, please, don't pick the rock up again, Tom.
I think I did it 3 or 4 times.
It was great.
But these are the types of things, to your point, Niels, of course, there's just traditional outcomes from combat. You're either going to kill or be killed or not, all that. But it's the stuff in the margins that is the memorable stuff that we're all looking for, that we're all hoping for. And if you cut that out completely by just, especially the DM, if the DM is just marching through, combat order and delivering very dry commentary on the results of it, then it does miss some of the, the more memorable stuff for sure.
Yeah. And you know what, as much as I hate to be this guy, because you know what, I see so much hate for Critical Role online, and I see so much, negativity about Critical Role. And don't get me wrong, I am not the biggest Critical Role fan. I can, for their new season, I got through 4 episodes and then was like, I can't keep up with this shit. I'm tapping out. But, for me, something that I love that Matt Mercer does is, how do you want to do this? And offering it to the players instead of, forcing his idea of what happens, upon them. And I really, really love that. And something that I talk to my players about very early on, and typically in my session 0 is I go, do you want to describe your combat shit, or do you want me to describe your combat shit? Because I'm happy for you to be like, I bop him, do, X amount of damage, this is what I want to do. And I'd be like, okay, well, that sends him flying, that kind of thing. And, that collaboration of allowing your players to decide, how that goes often surprises me more as a dungeon master than almost anything else. Moments where, a player is finishing off the last NPC or, enemy in a combat, and they get an opportunity to describe what that's like, or one of the bigger ones, often I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think about you doing that. Yeah. That's really cool. That's out of even my realm of, contemplation. And often it comes from, and I'll be 100% honest, Tom and I, like I said, have a lot of combat experience, but some of the greatest descriptions I've heard come from people who have no fucking idea about combat whatsoever. So they are pure creatively coming from a place of naivety and giving what they kind of can imagine and picture with their creativity. And often those ones are some of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
Hearing my mum, Tracy, who plays in our actual play stream, it's a family affair, guys. She honestly is awesome with her combat, and her descriptions are great. She always blows me away with her descriptions, and she knows fuck all about combat. She's a chef. She knows how to whip up a souffle, but she doesn't know shit about how to throw a jab. And yet her combat descriptions are ace. They're fucking awesome.
I think just to put a final on that one, I think as a DM, it's important to not get it wrong as far as who's going to describe the combat. Because if you say, how do you want to do it? If you do a Matt Mercer with someone that's really uncomfortable with that, you get a really awkward, frozen moment where you can see that person is seizing up and they just don't want to, they don't want the light to be shown on them at that moment. So
communicate with your players, talk about it with them, understand, their level of comfortability. And I actually posted a tweet about this the other day, get feedback. As a DM, core rule for me. I ask for feedback at the end of every freaking session. Tom and I do a debrief at the end of every freaking session. Typically Ryan, one of my best friends who plays in almost all of our games, I ask him for a debrief. And we always try and just understand what we could get better at, what I did wrong, whether someone was uncomfortable in this moment, whether they were comfortable, whether they loved something or they disliked something. And it allows you as a DM to, 1, improve, 2, adjust. 3, make your style more refined. And 4, support the fun of the table. If your players aren't happy, there is no fun. There is no game. If you don't have, first of all, 1, if there's no fun, it sucks. 2, if you don't have players at your table because they're not enjoying it, then you as a dungeon master might as well shove your story up your ass, because you got fucking nothing then. Without your players, you are actually nothing as a dungeon master, Yeah. And that's just what it is. So you need to have that constant communication so that things like describing combat aren't beats that are missed, but instead beats that are hit consistently.
By the right person.
Yeah, exactly.
And you touched on your actual play show quite a lot. Please expand on that more. Tell our audience, what is this actual play show about? How does it work? Everything about it.
Okay.
How much time you guys got?
Yeah. So the answer to that is, the moment we started playing Lost Mines of Phandelver, I was like, wow, this is very cool. But as someone who is exceedingly dyslexic, reading and remembering someone else's campaign was not working for me. I was fumbling through interactions because I wanted to stick to what the book had told me to do. I was then also trying to improvise because that's what everyone else was telling me to do, in the world of TTRPG. I just realized that running pre-written campaigns was not for me. I just couldn't do it. And so after Lost Mines, we finished that, and I said to Tom, right, I'm going to write a homebrew. And I originally decided, cool, we're going to do a standard D&D campaign, a couple of continents, and we'll have, and I originally was like, and there'll be a church that is trying to take over the land, and they've influenced the mightiest of kings at the time, and they're like, Game of Thrones politics was kind of the route that I was going down. And the day before Tom and I started writing, I went to bed, and I woke up at 3 a.m. with some weird revelation. And I was like, holy shit, floating islands. I was like, fuck, like normal D&D, Avatar floating islands. I was like, that's what I fucking want to do. And so I literally came to Tom the next day. I was like, scrap everything we've talked about. We're going to start with this, and we're going to go down this route. And so what was born was Pangaea, and Pangaea is made up of 2 places, the land realm and the sky realm, that basically were separated during the Great Split, a feud between gods that ended with the All-Father dividing the world and ripping chunks of matter from the planet below into the sky above to separate his 2 children. Thus, the sky realm was really born, and that's kind of where we are now. So our actual play is called The Sky Realm, and it's basically set in a land of floating islands, thousands of feet above the land below, separated by a torrential layer of storm clouds that is impenetrable. Basically, what we have going on up here is a struggle for life, basically, is because of the altitude that is going on, there's not much water up here. There's not many clouds above the cloud layer, so there's not much water for people to grow things, to live, to exist, to cultivate land and have animals and so on and so forth. As the years have gone on, it started as a utopia, but as years have gone on, the struggle for survival has become a real thing. And through power gems that have been found and things like that, people have begun making big political movements and using wealth that they had from before the Great Split to influence the world and make decisions. So basically, without giving too much away, there's a group of Imperials who are kind of running shit at the moment, amongst many other factions. They're very oppressive, they are not good people, and they basically are just trying to use the fact that people are struggling for war to their advantage and to control the land. And so our players are a group of ragtag adventurers that have met on an island and have just in episode 5 that will be released. No, sorry, episode 6, my apologies. Episode 6, which hasn't been released. Episode 5 is coming out this week. Episode 6 is coming out next week. In episode 6, they get their first kind of big, draw together and movement towards, being a bigger part of this world and so on and so forth. But yeah, just really excited. We've got airships going around. We've got frickin', a bunch of, I typically say I'm medium fantasy. I struggle with like multiverse theory shit because it kind of blows my mind a little bit too much. So I try and keep it medium fantasy. A lot of stuff is grounded within the world that I've created and whatnot. Gods are not super present, though, they are available to players if need be and things like that. But yeah, it's something that I've been working on for a very long time, and am very proud of. You know, the space is very fun. You know, we found that through traveling between islands and discovering what's on different islands and finding out, you know, who's controlling what, and, you know, having, you know, the Zodiac freebooter pirates, you know, coming in and causing chaos at all times, and, you know, all that kind of shit constantly has been a real fun thing. And we're now in like version 3, I guess, of the world. We've done a couple of homebrews and sessions and campaigns for like a family and things like that outside of the actual play, and now the actual play is the most refined version of the world that I have, basically, and is now and to be honest with you, I'll be 100% honest with you, it is, though I say it's refined, I'm still fucking creating shit as we go, because for me as a dungeon master, something that really struck me hard, a lot of people say this is, you know, and a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm gonna spend 2 years writing this amazing world and I'm gonna know every inch of the land and things like that. I'm not like that. I'm very much like, you know, if my players, for example, my mother, when they went to the People's Republic, which is the biggest city in the sky, she met an NPC that her mother had known, and they wanted to go for a coffee together in the morning and have a bit of a chat and just rekindle a relationship that she had with this woman when she was much younger. And they were like, she was like, I want to go to a coffee shop. What coffee shops are there in Midtown? I was like, okay, let me think. What type of coffee shop are you looking? What type of thing would you go to? What's your kind of flavor? And she was like, definitely something Moroccan and, you know, a little bit more like interesting, you know, things with maybe some hummus and flatbreads and stuff. I was like, amazing. So you're going to go to the Tasty Tagine. I completely pulled that out of my ass in the moment and was like, you're going to the Tasty Tagine. It's a beautiful Moroccan cafe that has, you know, cushions on the floor, low tables, hanging drapes, hookah smoke kind of filling the air, and, you know, beautiful scents all around you, spices everywhere. And for me, that's the beauty of being a dungeon master, is letting my players be like, I want to go to the library, and me being like, cool, there's an Imperial library now because you've chosen to go to the library, and, you know, that's how we're going to go about this. And, you know, I'll build it as we go in a lot of cases. Don't get me wrong, I have a large proportion of the world built at this time, but anything that they want to add in, for example, you know, if they want to add in a drink, you know, for example, that I didn't know existed in the world, like cranberry juice. I never expected anyone in my world to order a cranberry juice. And so now we have Ocean Rayward cranberry juice in our world, which was a Sam Comerford joke that is now canon, I guess, as you can call it, and things like that. So yeah, very much important that I feel like the world grows with my players, and I try and very much implement that every time I run the campaign.
I think the only other thing I would add is everything that you have seen us post, anything that you've seen us post,
every character, every unarmed combat thing, anything we've posted exists in the world.
Exists in that world. So all of our NPCs, all of the, you know, the different bits and pieces of content that we have, we've got maps, airships, all of that is going to be sort of trailing the NPCs, but we've got 40 NPCs that have been posted, and those exist in different parts of the world as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all coming together, and the content, I didn't think through it that way, but we had a conversation yesterday, and just the volume of content that we have right now is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's pretty gnarly in terms of what we've grown to at this point. And I think, you know, something else that's super important to mention is, you know, though it's an actual play stream, it is super explicit. We do cuss a lot, and there's a lot of gore and things like that. But also, it's a family affair. My father plays, my fucking mother plays, my best friend who literally lived with our family, we basically like adopted him, he plays with us as well. So it is very much a family affair. You know, if people want to see, you know, what a family are like playing D&D, that is exactly what this is. You know, we bring that, you know, love and relationship that we all have together to the table. And it's awesome. And don't get me wrong, we have amazing cast members as well, like Amber the Space Jammer, you know, Sam Comerford, Blake Francis, you know, these amazing role players that have come to join us on this journey as well, who are just incredible friends, as well as also amazing creators and cast members. But like a big part of it is that this is a family thing. You know, we don't know many other streams out there that are bringing in their fucking mum to come and play D&D with them and shit. And I'll be honest with you, fucking Tracy raises the bar. Yeah. She raises the bar. Like I was blown away with T stepping into stealth bomber indeed. she raised the bar hard style. Some of her moments, like alone as her character describing what's going on in the head of her character. Like there was one in episode, I think 7. Literally all of us, she described like this moment where a character's like sat on the bed and is like thinking about her past, their past and stuff, and is like in this introspective moment, stopped describing it, and all of us were like, what the fuck? We were all like, Jesus Christ, Tracy. Everyone was like, damn. Everyone took a second and like out of character was like, damn, T, like what the fuck, you know? And that's just something we're super proud of. And as a son, to see my parents like fucking step up to the plate is unbelievable. It's so inspiring. It like blows me away. Like I want to make this amazing for both them to experience and because they're, you know, giving me so much on their end as well.
Hot take here, right? I believe that every actual play that is great and not just good has something completely special about them. Something that not many or none other do. Some examples include, for example, Roll for Romance, because their show is all about romance. Their show is all about 5 friends thirsty for D20, and that's something you don't get everywhere.
Yeah.
That's very unique to them. And that's why I love their show. And the same thing goes for your guys' show. First of all, the world is something you don't see every day. Sky realms, sky ships, and floating islands. I don't think I've ever seen an actual play that does that before you guys. So that already is something that is perfect. And again, the family thing. The table synergy for you guys is incredible. It's off the charts, really. There are a few actual play podcasts, in my opinion, that I've listened to that have such a good table chemistry as you guys have. Even with the cast members that are overseas for you guys. There's a table chemistry that's incredible.
Dude, I appreciate that.
Table chemistry comes from comfort and fun together, right? And that's what you guys said before, right? You need to make your players comfortable. They need to have fun. You need to communicate. And if you don't do that, you won't have a table for long. Yeah. And you guys do that because it's very clear to see that you guys do that. Because in how these players that are overseas for you or your family at home in the room with you, because you play so well together. And that's something you don't see every day. I see a lot of tables where there's some awkward silence. There's some where it feels awkward to talk, where the characters talk to each other. That doesn't happen with you guys, except when it's intended in roleplay, but not as players at the table. Yeah. And that's very important because that's what D&D is all about, right? It's about playing a game of fun together, of make-believe together. If you're not having fun together, if you're not all comfortable with each other, the game doesn't exist for you anymore. And that should also be the same thing for actual plays, which it is in your case. But okay, I have a question about generally just producing this show, because as Niels and I have also been starting to produce an actual play and have been playing and making trailers, artwork, and all of that stuff, producing such a show is not easy. It's not an easy task, but you guys seem to do a great job of it, at least from what I can see. But especially I want to ask, what was the most helpful thing you learned in the process of producing the show that you might want to give back to other people that are also looking to create such a show? What is one big piece of advice you learned?
Wow, that's a really good question. Wow, these are great questions. Holy shit. So, first of all, I want to address just quickly, you talking about synergy. You know, Tom and I have played before with Blake, and we knew from the moment we started playing with Blake we played in Underground Oracle, a playtest game that they did with Blake, and he was exceptional. We got along with Blake like a house on fire. Sam Comerford and Amber, we both had on our podcast, and with Amber, we ended the show in tears. All of us were crying at the end of the show, just like completely emotional, just connected in a way that we weren't expecting. Same with Sam, like we ended the show and Sam was like, holy shit, I am on a wavelength with you guys. We were like, dude, we love you. Like, there's something here. We need to do something. And I think, you know, that's a big reason why the overseas stuff really, really works. And, you know, is why a lot of that synergy exists, is because there was pre-built relationships already there. And, you know, we've also just started, you know, or instead of just organizing, cool, we're going to meet for a D&D session, we're now organizing group hangouts where we all hop online and we just have 30 minutes to be like, hey, how's your fucking week going? How's your life going? You know, just be friends more than we are fucking colleagues, you know, because we feel like you said, that synergy. We know, you know, you watch Dimension 20. There's a reason you go back to watch the OG cast of Dimension 20 and why some of the newer shows don't do as well, because you need Emily Axford, Brian Murphy, Lou Wilson, you know, Siobhan, you know, you need Ali Beardsley, all of them together to really create that synergy. Same with Critical Role, same with, you know, all the other like high rollers, you know, all of those fucking Viva La Dirt League, like all of them have this relationship, this friendship before they come into doing this, and that's what gives you that like big synergy, I would say. In terms of production, dude, talking about production, we started this whole thing with desk lamps. Like, to understand like where we came from, like we started with a webcam attached to a tripod that is fucking broken. with desk lamps set up on like various things that we could prop them up on. And like, it was a shit show, you know, when we first started this whole thing. And I think the biggest thing that, for the actual play, I would say the biggest thing that we learned, the biggest advice I would give would be backups upon backups would be my advice. Like, it's not something that we were told. It's something that we've learned hard style from audio cutting out and we don't know why. And chunks of audio disappearing and just technology failing us. You know, Tom's computer crashing halfway through a session. You know, Sam Comerford's internet dropping out, you know, here or there. Fucking backups upon backups. When you are recording, we record on Discord and we use the Craig bot. We then also use the backup Craig bot, which is Craig backwards Garrick or whatever however the fuck you pronounce it. I then also record locally on my computer. We then also have our actual like lav microphones that we have external recording as well. So we record all of that. We also get all of our players that are abroad to record it on Audacity individually as well. So 100%, even if we lose the video, and we only record one video. This is super important to remember as well. I only record one video through Streamlabs OBS. If we lose the video, we have 30 different backups, you know, for audio. If we don't lose the video and we lose someone's audio or someone cuts out and we lose a chunk of audio, we have backups that we can slot in and replace and do that. And I would say, for me, that's been the biggest like help, is make sure you have backups, because there is nothing fucking worse than getting to the editing studio, knowing that you had a great fucking session, knowing that it was amazing, and you're listening through, you're doing, you know, your first pass of listening through, making all your notes ready for when you're going to cut shit out, add music in, add picture-in-picture, change formats, whatever the fuck you guys are doing on your end. But for us on our end, and realizing that there is a chunk of audio where I'm describing an NPC that is fucking missing, and being like, holy and we like this happened in episode 2. We weren't doing backups at this point. I describe Ulfer, one of the most important NPCs in these first couple episodes, and the audio cut out, and I had to literally go back in post, record myself again, and basically we had to put a picture up so you couldn't see my fucking mouth moving at a different time to what I'm actually saying, and I had to basically do a voiceover of this moment where I describe Ulfer because we had lost that audio. Yeah. So for me, I would say backups upon backups upon backups is my biggest advice.
I think we're learning. We're continuing to learn. So right now, like our editing
guru.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like we have to understand. I think as an actual play or a live stream, you have to understand that this is for an audience and what is going to engage that audience best. And so there are times during your campaign where it's not, you know, it's not a movie where it's been highly scripted and there's, you know, it's going from beat to beat to beat to beat. And so there's times during a campaign that not a lot is going on. How do you keep the audience engaged? You can do it either through music, you can do it through graphics. So there's different ways, and we're learning this as we go. And I think, you know, our last edit was our best edit. Our next edit is going to be our best edit. And it's just continuing doing that. And I think, you know, if we look back at our first edit already, we're like, oh my God, like there's disgusting. A lot of stuff that we can make better. And that's the process.
Yeah, you're just like, episode 1 is a mess. And furthermore as well, like we've changed our set, like, you know, almost every time we do a new session, like we started with me with a green screen behind me and these guys, you know, on the shark wall in the flat. And we were like, oh, that looks like fucking crap. We need to change that. So we put the green screen behind them and put me with this background. And, you know, we've altered the lighting setup and the microphone setup. Yeah. And we've altered, you know, oh, now these guys can see me on a TV screen and they can see everyone else on a TV screen. But that TV screen is lowered so that I can actually look over the TV screen and look at them and at the camera so that I'm not looking down at my fucking computer the whole time where I had everyone before. And it's making my micro adjustments. It's going, you know, it's, I guess, not settling as well. It's something that Tom and I think, and our fucking team hate us for this. Like, I know if Becky ever listens to this episode, she will 100% know that I'm talking about her. She hates the fact that Tom and I are perfectionists. She hates the fact that we strive for better constantly because we want it to just keep getting better. And so we're constantly pushing our editor, Becky, who is, by the way, a fucking insane and works her absolute ass off day in and day out to produce this, this stream for us in a way that, suits what we do, in a way that I'm happy with, that Tom's happy with. And, we're constantly pushing her and pushing the boundaries of what she's capable with her editing. And, especially, with music and stuff, like she's exceptional with sound effects and music. And it's something that, we're unlocking for her more and giving her more freedom to just go and do her own thing and find, effects and things, to really elevate moments where, I will as a DM be like, oh, and he throws punches that hit a wall, kind of thing, which is, it's great coming from my mouth, but it's so much better when Becky puts, a rock crumbling sound effect on top of that, and it really, accentuates that moment. And, I personally think, it's thinking about what resources you have available to you, maximizing those resources, and then going, cool, every episode, be critical, get feedback again, get feedback and think about what you can improve, think about what you can alter, think about what you can do better. And that's kind of my main advice. But backups, backups, always backups, constantly backups is my main one.
No, but I agree so much, right? We're recording with Zencaster here, but I have two different backups working right now that are recording my screen and the audio, and then recording the audio again that I'm hearing and making myself. So if all three of those fail, then okay, I admit defeat.
Yeah, exactly.
Then technology has bested me, and I can throw my hands up and say, well, that didn't work. No, but Bodhi, I have a question for you, as you're the GM for your actual play.
Yeah.
And you guys created the world together, but what has been the most important part you paid attention to when creating a world for this actual play? Or is there something that you realized that for this actual play, this world needs to have this, or needs to be this, or do this for us? Is there something like that?
It's a great question. You guys are nailing it with these questions today, guys. By the way, this is a great show. You guys are fucking awesome. You guys are absolutely killing this. This is amazing. To answer your question, so though Tom and I started writing the world together, I have actually strayed away from telling Tom a lot of what is in this world, because as a player, he needs to be fresh, just like anyone else at the table. He can't be expecting things. He can't be, waiting for something to happen. He needs to be fresh, just like everyone else, because there's times where, accidental metagaming will happen. Even if you don't want it to, it will just happen based on, the fact that we're humans and we subconsciously do things without thinking about it. And so the answer is, I've actually been writing the world now with someone called Tony. Tony is, I'm not sure if you guys know him, is NPC Encyclopedia on Twitter. He is pretty much my full-time writing partner at this point. Me and him at least once a week to write. And I'll tease a little something. While I'm doing the Sky Realm, Tony is currently creating the Land Realm, and he will be running the Land Realm actual play stream within the next year. Tony will be running that actual play stream as well on Homie and the Dude, and I will be a player. I won't be a GM. I'll be a player for that. I know a little bit about that world, but again, he keeps, portions of it quiet so that I, again, fresh. Things that this world needed for the actual play, stuff that I was like in needs for the actual play. Dude, it's such a hard question. It's such a difficult one that I've asked myself, and I constantly ask myself. Like, I think the answer is no. I didn't prep anything specifically for the live stream. I wasn't like, this needs to be in here for an actual play. What I'm realizing though, more as we go along, is movement. Keeping the ball moving is almost my job as well as the players, and thus, providing interesting moments. And for example, in episode 5, there's episode 5 is basically a tavern scene where our players, episode 5. God damn it, episode 7. God, I'm getting my numbers mixed up. Sorry. Episode 7 is a tavern bit where our players are celebrating an accomplishment that they've had. And, it could have just been a bit of role play where, they get drunk and, a bit of role play like that. And, we end the night and they wake up the next day. Instead, I was like, cool, how can I make a celebration fun? Oh, we'll add in some bar games, we'll add in some drinking games, we'll add in, a bit of this, we'll add in a bit of that. And I tried to make it as well so that it wasn't like, cool, we're just gonna move, like, let you guys roleplay all the way through. I made it a bit of a montage. So we cut from one game where they're, doing like my version of poker, Fool's Paradise. And then we cut to them doing a drinking game a couple hours later, and they're all a little bit more tipsy and a little bit more drunken. So as a DM, I think the thing that I have tried to now do is movement, is understanding, that the ball needs to keep rolling to maintain entertainment. Like Tom said, there's moments where it lulls and moments where it peaks. And I think in the moments where it lulls, it's my job as a DM to maintain a decorum of entertaining plot in those moments, as well as also obviously the players, do an amazing job of just turning any quiet moment into fun,
So I think the other thing that is really important in this particular campaign is the backstories that have been developed are really, I think, fundamental, because everyone has their own need to proceed in a certain direction, and how that unfolds we don't know. But if you have deep and rich backstories, then that adds a realism that isn't, just surface level. Okay, what's the next mission, so to speak? Because those missions can be complicated by interactions with NPCs that have particular relationships or certain discoveries or these types of things. That, I'm just kind of thinking about this in terms of...
I also lied. I did think of something that I did write in specifically for the actual play that is part of it. I'll come back to that. Finish your point.
Yeah, like it's almost like watching a movie, right? It's why are certain movies so much more memorable? For me personally, there is something about the depth of character that is so believable that it's memorable, right? It's somehow it resonates with you deeply, or it's a story or that type of thing. That's my personal joy in watching movies. And so I think you have a lot of that in there, and that our backstories.
And I've interwoven your guys' backstories massively. Like, everyone wrote backstories and was like, this is kind of what I want to do. And I gave them a bunch of lore and things. And, I've tried really hard to make sure that I'm going to include at least 80 to 70% of the NPCs that everyone has written about in their backstory. I'm going to, throw, curveballs out there. What's going on with Tom's Uncle Ace? What happened to Isampabe, Amber's, partners, and this guy's, and I'm hoping, that those stories will unfold, and that not only will we have my fucking story that exists, but also everyone individual stories that's existing. To answer your actual question, I lied earlier. I totally did write something for the actual play that I have now very much included. So basically, the core plot that I had written for this homebrew originally involved, well, I can't say too much, involved the players receiving an item that then was like a very big part of them, like dealing with this almost like ring of power kind of item, and like, how do we deal with this? And what I've done instead for the actual play is I've not given it to the players, and I've put it into the world, and it's more something that will be discovered as they kind of go. And I'm seeding a lot of my plot through dream sequences at the moment. Our first episode actually starts with a dream sequence where I monologue about the players having a dream sequence, and then they all awake as they travel towards this kind of starting island where they all meet each other. And since then, they have had another dream sequence that has come up, and I've got a backlog of dream sequences written out, basically, that just tease little bits of plot for them. And, and if my players are listening, if they're making notes, if they're actually concentrating when I do these dream sequences, they can start inferring a lot about how they need to deal with shit and how they need to approach some of the bigger issues in this world based on, these dream sequences centered around some NPCs that exist within the world, basically.
Just thinking about it, I think that is just a great way to introduce exposition into a story. So instead of...
That's a really good point. We hate exposition, and trying to find ways to put exposition in without beating someone over the head with it is really hard.
That's a nice device to sort of add information about the world, but not in a way that's obviously expository. That you see it in movies as well, where that one character will say, and 30 years ago when X, Y, and Z. And
the best one is in Batman Dark Knight Rises, where he's like, the clean slate, the tool of a master thief, it can wipe the slate clean for any master thief. And you're just like, why are you like this is
why are you explaining the
yeah, exactly. Why are you beating me over the head with the explanation of this clean slate, dude? Like, back off a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I think the dream sequences are a great way to do that. And by the way, I'm going to start listening and paying much more attention to the next dream sequence, because it sounds like there's some important information in there that I've been completely ignoring.
As I said, some people are note takers and some people aren't. I know, for example, my mum writes like religious notes. I actually typically, if I forget shit during a session, will be like, T, do you remember what happened like in that last session? Can you remind me? Like, because I know you have the notes for it. Can I like, I know Amber is a note taker as well. I know Sam takes a lot of notes as well. So I also know you, Blake, and Ryan don't take any notes really. So, you know, it's one of those ones where certain players will start piecing things together and, you know, they will then share it with the group and then you all will be like, oh, fuck, you know, like now I get it, you know, kind of thing. And I think weirdly, I never expected to write dream sequences until Tony and I realized that my plot actually has 2 arcs. And that's when I started plotting these dream sequences in for our players, basically. And that's where it kind of came to, basically.
Nice. I love that. I sense that someone shares my love for foreshadowing with dreams. Because it's so amazing if you're dropping such a piece of information so early on and then 5-6 sessions, episodes later, you drop the next coin and everyone's like, okay, I don't understand that. Then you drop the next coin and they're like, holy shit. What happened? Oh. No, I love the dream sequence you did in episode 1, the monologue. It's opened up some mystery as well, right? Dreams are always about this mystery, and when you use it in D&D or TTRPG, it's always like this little bit of mystery, a little bit of okay, what is happening? It's this question that drives you forward, which is very important for a character, in my opinion, to have that question. Why am I going forward? Why am I not just staying behind? Why do I have to leave my home and go on an adventure or whatever happens, right? And with that dream sequence, there's something there. That is that driving question already.
I actually started my last campaign that I started as well with a dream sequence, because this is just such a great tool to get to or force, in quotation marks, the characters to work together even though they are not knowing each other.
Yeah.
They slept in some kind of inn in the middle of nowhere, basically, and all had the same dream of the returning of the ancient dragon god race, whatever, and then the world being destroyed by them or by the returning of them. And then they all wake up, go to the next breakfast, and see the people that they saw in their dream, but knowing not who they are or having never seen them in real life before. And this just gives some sort of mystery or some sort of foreshadowing vibes that isn't necessarily confirmed that this is going to happen, but it could be happening. And this might force them or entice them to work together in some way, shape, or form in any capacity whatsoever. And I really like these tools.
Yeah, dude. I also love how you had, you know, the players see one another but not know each other. It gives that first moment, like that first bit of dialogue, and do you know what? I'll throw this out there. I would say the hardest fucking bit of every actual play is that first moment where you have a group of people who know fucking nothing about each other and giving them a reason to fucking chat. You know, giving them a reason to interact. And you know what? I'll hold my hand up. I'm not sure I did a great job. I'm not sure I did the best job with this actual play. I would say I could have done better is actually where I kind of feel I'm at this point in time. But, you know, as the story progresses, I know that our plot gets amazing. I know that what our players deal with in this world is awesome. I know who they interact with, and I know, you know, what kind of shit is coming. And also all the shit that I don't know that's going to happen excites me as well. But I also know that, like, yeah, that first bit, and I love how you did that by having them see each other, because then it poses a question. Wait a second, I saw you last night. Like, come here, let me talk to you, you know? And, you know, I love that, Niels. I think that's such a great way to do it. And, you know, one of my favorite things is I actually talked to one of our artists, shout out to Alex in Serbia, at Art of Caustic on Instagram and Twitter, one of the best freaking artists in the world. He gave me some advice about how he does like his intros, and, you know, he actually gets the players to describe how, like, someone walks in there, he's like, cool, how do you know this person? And, you know, forces it upon the players to make their connections in different ways. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting way to do it. I love seeing how different GM styles exist and how you go about doing things. It's super, super interesting to me. And I think, you know, it's a reason why, you know, I am inspired by so many other dungeon masters, GMs, across the world, people like Dimples and Dice, one of my favorite, streamers out there. Amazing content, awesome game master when he runs stuff. And I love watching his content because it's so different to anything that I ever do. It's so out of my realm of, imagination and where I go that I'm such a fan of, what they're doing over there. And I think it's key, again, something, not a lot of people do. People, I talked about feedback, but research is another one. Go listen to other GMs, go see, other styles. And furthermore, there's nothing wrong with taking pieces of each dungeon master that you watch and formulating your style from those pieces. Going, I love, that Matt Mercer does the, how do you want to do this? I love that, Brennan Lee Mulligan hits emotional highs and emotional comedies, in like the space of 30 seconds. I love that Abria Iyengar gives space. Like anytime there's an emotional moment, she adds pauses that have you just like lingering on the edge of your seat, just like, oh my God, what's next? What's next, Abria? Go on, tell me, and I think it's about culminating all those bits you like into formulating your style and working out, what you're good at and what you can do, bits that you can use. Fucking, I love that, Niels. I'm stealing that for next time I run some shit. I love it very, very much. I think that's super sick.
By the way, talking about next time, we talked about where the show or this project started and where it is now. Where do you see it in a couple of years or in the future? What are your future plans?
That's a great question. We've talked about it a lot. So a couple of teasers. We are currently working on, like I said, our mixed martial artist class, which is something we will be including in the world and something that I will likely play when I play my character in the land realm, just because we want to get it out there, and I want to be able to show people what I can do with mixed martial arts and things like that. I know that, we are currently deep within working on an airship combat system that is pretty awesome, and, making sure that airships have stat blocks, people can build their own fucking airships, all that kind of stuff, from pieces and parts and whatnot. And we're working on that really heavily at the moment, me and Tony. And, of course, obviously, we'd love to at some point release, the Sky Realm, book of, cool, here is the world. Feel free to go and, create your own plot here, create your own, whatever. So we would love to at some point have books, supplements of the shit that we are currently creating. But if we're talking about the actual stream itself, man, I hope we just have fun. I hope we have a campaign that runs for a long time. For me, I hope my players, enjoy this all the way through. I hope, at the end of it all, when we finally do come to the ending of my portion of this campaign, that they feel that it was a good resolve, that everyone feels content with, how it ends, that no one feels like they were left wanting more, needing more, that kind of thing. So my hope is that as a DM, my answer to your question, I hope as a DM, I can fucking deliver on my promise that this is going to be a fun game for the next X amount of years. Saying that, we do also hope to be running the Sky Realm and the Land Realm simultaneously, with bits of both worlds affecting the other world, though they are separated by a layer of cloud. And shit, dude, who knows whether that layer of cloud at some point gets taken apart, and whether that opens up, back to Pangea, the two realms, and whether we get to a third campaign that involves, both the sky and the land together instead of separately. That would be a fucking dream, to be able to run, the full world with, a plot line that is way further down, with the effects of, what your player, what my cast did, what Tony's cast do, and, then be able to have all that history leading up to a third stream would be fucking incredible. And, it's something that we already try and do. Like, I've ran this campaign for, like our family group, as we call it. Got like Becky, who is our editor, but also my partner's sister, my partner, mum, dad, one of my best friends from high school, another best friend from college, and we all kind of started this journey together. It'd be real great to, I don't know, just get to the end of where we're going. And I don't know, I'm just excited about all
I think it's we're forced to enjoy the journey, because we just don't know, like, as we didn't know where we would be 2 years ago, it would be silly. It would literally be silly and foolish of us.
We have goals, but we're not going to, we don't have expectations, I think, is maybe a better way to put it. There's just no way we can predict how this thing is going to unfold, and, where it's going to go. And, things
things happen in life and things happen in creative processes as well. As long as we can just always follow our passion. We talked about this earlier. If we can just follow our passion and have fun, mission accomplished.
I agree with that.
Because as long as it lasts, mission accomplished.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. You know, Tom's totally right. We started this as a passion project, like I said at the beginning, to, you know, and people often assume, wow, you're father and son, you guys must fucking love each other. Like, if you rewind the clock to 6 years ago, Tom and I did not like each other. We did not get along at all. We had very differing opinions about life, about each other, about how we act, how we interact, who we are as people. We did not get along. And, you know, for us, this has been a saving grace. This has saved our relationship. You know, we have come out the other end of this because of the time that we've put into it, you know? And so for me, it's, you know, continuing to have, you know, how many kids get to fucking spend every day working with their fucking dad? And, you know, Tracy, though she, you know, is part of our D&D stream, she also is helping me make dice at the moment. So when Homie and the Dude dice come out, know that my mom is making that with me. So how often does anyone, you know, unless you're working in a bakery, you know, with your fucking parents that your parents own or whatever, you know, how often do you get to do that with your folks? And, you know, for the latter years of their lives and the young years of your life, do people get to do that? And I feel blessed that, you know, Tom and T are willing to go on this journey with me, but also, you know, wanting to embark on this journey with me and dive down this rabbit hole. I think, you know, if in 3 years time we could be, you know, making a little bit of fucking money because, you know, this shit costs time and money, you know, it'd be nice to be making some money in some places. But other than that, just keep being together day in and day out and keep smiling, keep being happy and, you know, supporting each other throughout this process. I think for me that's enough. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And we feel pretty grateful to have this time, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And whether we burn and crash, you know, whether there's crashes and burns, it will be a section of our lives that we can always be so fond about, you know. And don't get me wrong, there's days where, you know, we travel to go do post-fight interviews for Cage Warriors, and it's, you know, a 4-hour drive there, 8 hours of interviews nonstop, and then a fucking 4-hour drive home, and the next day we have a D&D session, and then the next day we have a podcast, and, you know, we're gassing out, and we you know, we're burning ourselves out constantly and whatnot, but it's all fucking worth it. We always come back to, like, Tom and I are always like, what can we get rid of? And we're like, nothing. We love it all. We're like, we love everything we do. We can't get rid of everything, you know? So yeah, it's just passion, man. It's just love. It's just, rather than, and I use this term all the time, and some people definitely don't find it appropriate, and some people definitely don't like it. But, you know, I use the term of, you know, sucking life's dick, where you're, you know, beating that 40-hour-a-week, you know, drum, you know, working in a retail store, or, you know, being a bartender, or working in a corporate company, or whatever the fuck you do. You know, I hate that shit. I've done that. I've been managers. I've been the grunt. I've been the manager. I've done all the spectrum of jobs throughout that. And I hate every fucking position. They suck. They're boring. You don't enjoy life. You become depressed and you fucking hate it. And unless that's your fucking thing. And it's not my fucking thing. This is our thing. And we know that. And that's why we drive so hard with this. And that's why we put, you know, that's why, you know, I'm taking no fucking money, you know, on a monthly basis. It's why we're paying people out of savings that we, you know, that is intended for me, you know, savings that I've made that were intended for me to get a fucking house with my partner, you know, and instead I'm fucking paying her younger sister to edit for me. You know, we're making sacrifices constantly for the drive and the passion, you know, and that is what it is. We are doing it because we fucking love it, you know, that'd be what it be.
It's inspiring, really, seeing you guys talk about your passion that way, that this is your passion, that this is what you want to do. It's, yeah, nothing short of inspiring and great to see, really. It's incredible seeing how you guys work together. It's this relationship between you two that you two talked about. It really shows. It shows that you guys enjoy each other's presence, that you enjoy doing this together. And I think I need to call my father.
dude, it's how I feel. Like, interestingly, like I think I really started feeling that, you know, I need to call my father shit when I went traveling for the first time. And I realized that, you know, I was so far away from you guys, and that it wasn't what I wanted, and that I didn't want to be away from my family, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And and so something that I actually do want to quickly talk about, just because it's super important to me, and I feel like I want to put an awareness out this, because I've had some negativity about this already in our Discord server and some other places. People have messaged me a bit negatively about this, but I want to just put this out there. We are sacrificing so much to the point where, up until 3 weeks ago, I was a drug addict. I was smoking cannabis every day, all day, non-stop for the last 8 years of my fucking life. This shit means so much to us that I fucking quit smoking because of this. We are putting everything on the line for this fucking show. We're giving it everything we fucking got to make this fucking happen. And, this is so important for us that, we want people to understand as well that anyone can do this. We're not magical people. Like I said, I have faults. I was a drug addict up until 3 weeks ago. I'm not the best person in the world. Tom fucking, until he discovered meditation, was a fucking piece of shit, guys. He was a fucking piece of shit. And it's one of those things where we
shout out to piece of shit dads. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. You can change what you do. You can be better. You can alter the way of your life. It just takes a reason good enough to do it, and we're lucky that we found that reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it really comes down to is, we're not anyone special. We're two random fucking dudes who are American living in the fucking UK. We're trying to make something fucking happen, and on a whim and a prayer, we're going to, but also we're putting everything we've got into it. And just like I know you guys are, I know you guys are both young lads, and, you're giving everything you've got to DoubleDM. I know, Emil, you're on, Twitter, constantly interacting, providing support to this community, being an amazing influence. I know, Niels, in your podcast, your insights are some of the best fucking shit ever, dude. The way that your mind works, Niels, is amazing. The way that you come at some of these problems that you and Emil talk about is on another level, dude. Like, it's really incredible, and I know how much work you guys are putting in, and I think everyone who sees, Abyssal Brews, sees Maps and Quests, sees DoubleDM, sees, How Not to DM, sees Dungeon Glitch, sees, any of these entities that are the cornerstones of the TTRPG community, understand that we are fucking just people working our asses off day in and day out to do what we fucking love, and we don't know if it's gonna work. None of us fucking know if this shit is gonna work, and we're gambling. We're putting risks out. We're rolling the dice as it fucking were, and it's not out of your reach as well for anyone who does listen to this. It's no way out of your reach. You can achieve anything that we have achieved and more than we achieve because, it just comes down to how much time and effort you want to put into it, really.
You're here.
Fucking, But yeah, it's one we're very proud of. And, also, like, on another side, we're fucking proud of you guys. Like I said, I'm looking at the thing and it says episode 70, and that blows my fucking mind. You guys have been absolutely kicking ass for so long. And, like I said, I appreciate your guys' support more than anything. Like, above the amazing podcasts that have taught me how to be a dungeon master, above, the amazing work that you guys do, with the charity streams and working on the world building stream that you guys do and all that kind of stuff. It's your guys' support within the community that blows me away. I can never be as supportive as you guys because I just can't be on my phone that amount of time. It kills me. But you guys are constantly there helping people, supporting each other. And so, if we can put a nail in this coffin in any other way, then DoubleDM are the fucking ones. DoubleDMs are the fucking guy that the guys you need to support and understand that they are, one of the cornerstones, one of the core pillars of this TTRPG community. Then that's what I would love to, say and put out there, because without you guys, I'm not who I am today, 100%. I listen to every episode and I'm thankful for fucking what you guys do massively.
I just add to that, Emil, before some of the comments that you've made early on, when we were fucking nobodies. We're still nobodies. But in those moments where you're just unsure what you're doing, those comments mean a lot. And there was definitely a few times where your name was, at the top of that comment, and it meant a lot to us in those, and when we're kind of marching through the wilderness and not knowing what the hell we're doing.
When we're burning out, we get a post from Mill saying, Homie and the Dude are amazing. I'm loving the actual play stream and we're having them on the podcast. I read that tweet last night. Dude, it was 2 a.m. I'd just been writing all night and I was like, fuck me. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. That shit gave me life. That shit gave me fucking happiness. That shit brought me back to serenity. Do you know what I mean? It's wild how much you guys contribute without even knowing about it. Seriously.
For real.
I, again, have to throw this back, just like I did in your guys' episode. I have learned so much from your guys' NPCs, for example, about how to create engaging NPCs that break the realm of possibilities that I had before, period. That's inspiring work. And everything else you do, the interviews, inspiring. After I've came onto your guys' interview show, I wrote on my to-do list, get a better interview, get better at this, because these guys are better than me. And then I put in the work through listening to you guys, through listening to other people, to get better at this, to find better questions for my guests, to find better ways to get my guests to answer in ways that enable them to get their visions, their words across to other people. Those are things I've learned from you guys.
Dude,
thanks, dude.
Dude, we appreciate that massively, and we hope to continue doing that. And dude, you have superseded any interviewing expectations you may have for yourself, brother. You guys are both, like I said, like Neil's takes on things are literally some of my favorite shit ever. I can't even tell you some of the shit that you say, Niels, literally has me laughing, dying with laughter, and then looking at myself in ways that I literally never expected to do in my life. I can't even tell you how weird it is. Every time I'm like, God damn it, fucking Niels is like this truth machine that is breaking down my barriers. Like, I didn't realize I was in therapy today watching this episode, but I am, and here I am. It's one of those things, we're thankful to share this space with you guys.
Awesome. So I think this more or less concluded our awesome interview. If there is anything else you want to shout out, where can people find you and all of that stuff, please do now.
Where can you find us? We're Homie and the Dude, at Homie and the Dude on absolutely everything. We were lucky to take down that domain. So if you search us on Google, Homie and the Dude, you'll find our website on there. And on our website, you can literally find any content that you want from us. And I'll tell you what, we've made a good 90% of what we make free for people because, we do want to support people who can't, afford to spend, a couple pounds on a character, a couple pounds on a group of characters or, on this or that or whatever. So we have a bunch of free content if you're needing that. We also have all of our video content on YouTube. So you can find everything that we have ever done, every podcast from the moment Tom and I started this, all the way through to our actual play, which we are churning out weekly now. And that's on YouTube at Homie and the Dude. If you want to talk to us, and we will hella respond. We also have a Discord server, which we will we'll send you guys a link to, so you guys can drop that in there and whatnot. But our Discord server, Homie and the Dude, exists. You can join there. You can ask us questions about what we want to do. You can ask any advice about anything that we might know about, lights, recording, fucking actual plays, anything that we might have a small amount of advice about. We'd be happy to give in there, as well as also if you want to talk about MMA shit, we have a whole section to bullshit about upcoming MMA events and things like that in there as well. So it's a fun space for that. Otherwise, you can also catch our actual play stream, the Skyrealm, on Twitch. And we do that every Friday, 3 weeks in a row, and then we take 4th week off. Oh, where have we heard that before? But everyone needs a break. So yeah, every 3 weeks we upload episodes, and then we take our 4th week off. The episode 5 will be live today at 11. Well, this might be dated. Episode 5 should be live when this goes live. I'm not sure when this is coming out. Episode 5 should be up, as will episode 6 be coming, and so on and so forth. And we hope you guys enjoy the stream, enjoy what we do. We're father and son. We fucking love you guys. We love you too. And yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, guys. We've been happy to share what we got with you. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot. And just as a quick thing at the end, you can find us. You can find us at DoubleDM Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and you can visit our website at www.doubledm.com. And please, if you like this show, give us a review on any podcasting platform of your choice.
Do it. Do it! Support them! They're amazing! Get on it now!
And with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for you guys being on the show. Hear you on the next one, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.